FDR was a man who learned quickly about the power of radio. During the 1930s and 40s, as you know, Bob, FDR took the radio for, I believe, 13 times for what he called Fireside Chats. FDR chats perhaps eased many minds, according to some historians, during the Great Depression and, of course, the start of World War II. Before we get into that, here's a clip of him talking, one of his Fireside Chats, talking about how he can ease the lives of people during this cut's taken during the Great Depression. Take a listen.
It's about to pass legislation that will greatly ease the mortgage distress among the farmers and among the homeowners of the nation by providing for the easing of the burden of debt that now bears so heavily upon millions of our people. Well-considered and conservative measures will likewise be proposed within a few days that will attempt to give to the industrial workers of the country a more fair wage return, to prevent cutthroat competition, to prevent unduly long hours for labor, and at the same time to encourage each industry to prevent overproduction. I have no expectation of making a hit every time I bat.
Now, I hear that, Bob, and I just think back what that must have been like to hit your ears when everybody's struggling for food. That I can't even imagine what do you think that did to America? Because some people say that he saved the country with his chats.
Absolutely. Well, if you think to people who weren't around back then, including you and I, you think about what happened on 9/11 and the impact that it had on all of us, regardless of whether we live near New York or not. I mean, we were like glued to whatever outlet we use for the news. And I would have to think that it was the same back then, that people were constantly had their ear on the radio, and they didn't want to leave home because they might miss a news segment, and portable radios weren't as common back then, so they had to listen to their big mahogany set that took up the whole living room, or this set that weighed 40 pounds sitting on the shelf. They didn't want to miss something that was life-changing for them back then, just as the more recent events were life-changing for us.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good way. That's a good analogy. I mean, it was taxing on American people at a different level, but nevertheless, when you think about the Depression or what that must have been like when the dollar crashed, and people, I mean, there was a sense of hopelessness, and then here is this kind, grandfathery voice on the radio telling you, everything's going to be all right. You just got to hang in there. And it's to me, it's I don't think a lot of people can fathom that kind of impact happening at that level even today.
Yeah. I mean, they're thinking, well, we have no money. How are we going to get dinner for tomorrow? I'm out of work. Now what do I do? Where's my next paycheck going to come from? I guess not from my employer that I worked for however many years. So it had to be tough.
What I find interesting, and I was during the docuseries, one of the interviews I did was with Tim Kiska, big Detroit historian, radio, news, print, broadcasting, and journalist. You know him, right?
I've seen the feature. Yes.
Well, talking with him, I learned that the collapse actually started in Detroit.
Huh.
And wow. I didn't know that. I mean, that was news to me, but it doesn't surprise me because Detroit was I think it was the fourth or fifth largest city in the country at that time, maybe even higher. I don't know. It made an impact.
City.
Yeah.